Judge Hatfield, you suggested another number of forms that I want to explore, but just at the outset, I believe you responded previously to Chairman Johnson that most of the representatives that came in front of you during your time serving as a judge were honorable people who were doing their job effectively.
Yes, that's correct.
And I just have to say that I do find a little troubling the use of this term skimmed off the benefits and the size for the whole country. It's been a long time since I practiced law, but I knew few lawyers then and know few now who would take a Social Security disability case. There's no recovery unless there are benefits, which means often in complex cases there is no recovery. I believe that from the people that I have seen in more recent years in my district office, over the last couple of decades, people who had no representation, who had limited education, or even if they had some education, had difficulty with the complexities of this system, that many folks would not be able to access the insurance benefits that they have paid over their working life to get unless they had honorable representation to participate. It is reasonable that across this country, with the number of people who make application for benefits, that there is some compensation, and absolutely somebody who's out of work, who's disabled, unless they can find someone to take their case on a contingency, they won't have any representation at all. When we describe, though the term may be applicable, when we describe corporations who have a legal department or other department to deal with the government, we don't refer to those individuals as having skimmed off the corporate earnings. We refer to it as part of the normal operating process, and I think that that is true here. I think every member, regardless of party on this committee, is strongly against fraud. I'm as outraged as anyone else to see the program jeopardized by somebody dancing on the internet. Just as we should be outraged when a pharmaceutical company steals millions of dollars from the Medicaid program, or a healthcare provider steals from Medicare. So fraud and how we ferret it out is very important, but not denying benefits and not disparaging those who represent people who have paid into this system to get the benefits to which they are entitled, I think is equally important. Now, Mr. Spencer, you mentioned that the standard is not a low one to get Social Security benefits. Don't most people who apply for Social Security disability benefits get denied?
Trudy is right. At the DDS level, it's about 33% are allowed. But the important thing to really remember with that number is that while the hearings allowance is higher, it's about 50% now, it's dropped, they have a much smaller set of cases. So in fact, about 70% of all the allowances in the program are made by the DDSs, and 85% of DDS decisions end up being the final decision of the Social Security Administration. So yes, only about 40% of folks who apply are awarded benefits.
And you reiterated the testimony we heard not from a representative for the disabled or an advocate, but from the chief actuary here in this very committee room recently, that despite all the alarmist articles that the sky is falling and the disability program is about to crash, that in fact we have a very sound disability program. There is not a crisis. There is not an excess of claims, though there certainly may be some fraudulent claims, and there may be some fraudulent representatives out there that need to be ferreted out. But in fact, with the same kind of transfer among the funds as has occurred in previous decades, this fund will be on firm footing going for decades ahead, and that we can continue to provide benefits to an aging workforce and to a workforce that involves more women in the workplace than occurred in prior generations.
Yep, you summarized Mr. Goss's testimony. If I might, when we think about Judge Hatfield's approach to maybe temporary disability, While you're doing that, let me remind you that there are 3 levels of CDR diary set. 1 year for people that we know should improve, 3 years for people that we're not sure if they're improved, and 7 years for people with terminal illnesses or with impairments that will not improve, like intellectual disability. So while you're planning, we could deal with a lot of these lengthy folks on the rolls that haven't been reviewed by funding the CDR program.